Reddit, tell me your glitch in the Matrix stories. Not sure if this relates, but about 2 years into my relationship with my GF, we'll call her Susan, I had a dream about my ex. Dream went like this. I was in my room, at my mother's house, where I lived at the time, slamming my ex. Balls to the wall sexing it up. I knew I was cheating on Susan, but didn't care. So in the middle of it, I look over to the window, which you can see the back porch from, and Susan is there, watching us, crying and mortified. I then woke up. I thought it was a weird dream, but dismissed it. A few days go by and Susan and I are hanging out in my room. She brings up this weird dream she had a few days prior, and describes my exact dream, except from her POV looking through the window. Freaked me the out, didn't say anything about it at the time. I still haven't said anything. 5 or 6 years later. It still weirds me out. My dad had this little toy monkey that he used to call his favorite child and tease me and my siblings with it. Not in a bad way, but it was really frustrating to us, and we spent hours trying to steal it from him. Well anyways, one day we finally got it and threw it into the garbage after drawing on it and mangling it for a bit. My dad laughed and searched for it a bit but basically figured we had thrown it out and gave up after a week or so. Anyways, a few years later, when I was about 17, I'm walking down the street in Toronto. I don't live in Toronto, was just visiting friends, and see this little orange object on the side of the road. When I walk over to it, I pick it up and see that it was the exact same king monkey. It even had the black Sharpie lines on it from when we drew all over it. I honestly cannot even come up with the chances of that happening, especially considering our garbage is sent to a local dump and is nowhere near Toronto. Edit. I actually took it with me and killed it with fire, just so I knew it wouldn't come back again. I used to work in a building that had 3 levels of sub-basements, with the piece of lab equipment I typically worked on in the lowest basement. I had the only key. There was a wired phone in there, and I did work late some nights, but not this night. I was sleeping alone in my apartment when I woke up to a call on my cell phone from my girlfriend at 3 AM. She was in hysterics and asking why I scared her. Apparently she received a call from that basement phone just a minute earlier with someone who sounded like me slowly repeating her name until crackling and fading out. My apartment was 10 miles away from work. I thought she was lying, but I saw the 3 AM call from the basement phone logged on her cell myself. Still freaks me the out. Every so often, I'll have dreams which play out exactly as I've dreamt them, years later. They're usually insignificant moments, so I make a mental note and move on. I used to work in music and toured with this band. The guitarist, Josh, of the band's best friend, Matt, had died a couple years back. He always talked about the kid and he seemed like a great guy. Josh always had this reoccurring dream where Matt was standing on this abandoned street which, supposedly, was metaphorical for purgatory. Josh had all these conversations with Matt in these dreams, and because he had overdosed unexpectedly, he felt like his spirit was not able to move on. At the end of the dreams, Matt would take a bulb from the street light on the street they were standing in the middle of. Josh described these dreams in extreme detail and I could pretty much picture what the street looked like. Fast forward to about 6 months into touring with these guys. They were huge Bright Eyes fans and wanted to stop in Cassadaga, Florida. Bright Eyes singer wrote an album there and it's a really creepy spiritual medium place. It might be worth noting that 6/7 of the people I was with are all atheists. So we drive into Cassadaga around 2 or 3 AM and drive around. Suddenly, this big black dog comes in the middle of the road and just stops and looks at us. The guys in this band were weird as and were saying things like, "Follow the dog. It's trying to show us something." And in my mind, I'm just thinking they are all king idiots. We follow this dog for a few blocks as it was walking pretty slowly. All of a sudden, we turn a street and the dog bolts. We try to speed up but Josh says, "Stop the king van." This is it. We are all confused, and he gets out of the van and looks around. This is it. This is the street in my dreams. We hang out for about 15 minutes, and from the way he described the street, from having houses on the left to a park on the right, it was definitely the street. As we get in the van, a street light goes off, and we just drive off. He claims he never had any more dreams about it, as that was closure on everything. Edit, grammar. Middle school, the entire 8th grade class had to do this thing called a cultural fair, where we research our lineage/cultural roots, and present it after school at night for all families to see. Me and a buddy are cruising the empty halls out of boredom, before the whole thing starts, and for some stupid reason, I bet him $10 I can open any locker, and he gets to choose which one. He takes my bet and picks a random locker. He jiggles the handle and spins the dial on this a few times, to make sure it's locked. I remember, it was locker hash 424. So I look at him, go piss. Watch this. I spin it, 6 right, 24 left, 34 right. I remember thinking, these numbers sound right in my head. The latch lifts up and it swings open. Sort of related perhaps. When I was looking at colleges, I was walking down a stairwell to see a building, when I passed a girl about my age. We both met gazes, passed and then at the same time, stopped, turned back around and looked again. For a moment we just stared at each other. It was like I had just run into someone I had known my whole life, but had never seen before. At the same time we asked, "Do I know you?" Confused, we spent a few moments trying to figure it out. We swapped names, shared where we were from, where we had traveled, but there was no match up at all. Nothing. She apparently felt the same way, like she'd known me all her life. We didn't know anything about one another, but there was this unexplainable, undeniable connection. Her parents, who hadn't realized she had stopped and had continued walking, came back and hurried her off before I could get her phone or email. Julia, if you're out there, message me. Edit, before you suggest it, I'm pretty sure we weren't twins. She was black, and I'm white. Driving home on a storm day, I see that a side road up to the local golf course is blocked off by flashing barricades. I also spy a Mercedes parked past the barricades with its hazards on. I stop and walk up to the car to see if they need help. I'm an EMT. I shine my light in the back seat to see a man slumped over, apparently asleep. Thinking I've got a few drunks, I move up to the driver window and rap on the glass and shine my light in. The driver is sitting bolt upright, unmoving, staring straight ahead. My window rapping or light doesn't cause him to blink, flinch, or move. I look over, and the passenger is slumped forward onto the dash. This begins to creep me out. I call down to the sheriff station and request a code 2, no lights/sirens, unit up to my location, to help me check them out. Doors are locked. While on the phone I walk back to my truck to get my go bag. As I'm on the phone with dispatch, she asks me to get a license number for the car. Just as a PG&E power company cherry picker truck comes rumbling down from up the closed road. I move to go around the truck to get the plate number, and the car is gone. I talked to the driver of the truck, and he said there was a 80-foot tree down across the road, and that he didn't think it'd be open for a day or so. So the question is, the hell did the car go? Tree up one way, barricades down the other. It's kept me a bit unsettled when stopping at accident/hazard since then. Edit, here is the intersection via Google Maps. Barricades were 5 feet in front of the camera, and the tree was up around the distant bend. This one time at work, I was responsible for making boiled eggs. This guy came in and ate one. He was so intent on peeling his hard-boiled egg that he didn't notice that I brought a new tray of eggs in and set the older ones aside to make egg salad. Ever since I was a kid, I have what I call doubling occasionally happen around me. I put something in a pocket, then later find it in another pocket, as well as the original in the pocket I had put it in. And yes, it has happened to money before. Score. The most standout example was when I was a teen at camp. All the leaders had engraved plastic number tags, and we were only issued one. I used to keep moving mine between my hat and my shirt. At the end of camp, I just crammed all my stuff in a duffel and headed home. Later when I unpack, the first thing I do is pull out my hat with the tag on it. Okay, so that's where I had it last. And of course a minute later, I pull out a shirt with the same number tag pinned to it. I also experienced a similar phenomenon when I was a kid. For a few years it happened on a daily basis, but haven't seen it in a long time. Someone would place something in their pocket/backpack, etc., but when they went to grab it later, it would be missing. I would then reach into my pocket slash backpack slash whatever and pull the item out. I initially got accused of being a thief, but when it happened repeatedly, when I hadn't even been within 20 feet of the victim, my friends and classmates stopped doing so and just kind of accepted that that would happen around me. Too long. Didn't read. I'm a quantum counterfeiter slash pickpocket. At 12 years of age, my mom let me stay in the truck as she went grocery shopping. As I wait, I see an old guy walking towards the truck with an indescribable look at me, as if I know too much. He stops 5 feet from the truck, looks at me for a couple seconds and heads back the exact way he came. It was rather traumatic for some reason and very confusing at that age. 5 to 6 years later, my dad was showing me home videos of us at Yellowstone. At Old Faithful I noticed the same guy, same look, same clothes peering at us on camera, and at me through the TV. I'm freaked out just telling this. Edit. I didn't expect this story to be such a hit. A few more details. The Yellowstone video was from when I was very young. I'm thinking 1 or 2 years of age. I was in an awesome baby pack on my dad's back. Also, I will try my hardest to find the video. I don't see my parents often, and if I do, I don't think either of them will know where our home videos are. Divorce can be a messy and destructive thing. If I do find it, I will definitely post the video and message you all. I had a monkey on my keychain back in high school. This chain was 3 links long. One day I was walking out to my car, and I heard something hit the ground. I looked down to discover the monkey with links 1 and 2 of the chain still attached on the ground, and link 3 still attached to my belt. All of the links were still fused together. My only guess is the chain phased itself apart. I was walking up a hill in Portland, Oregon, and found a pack of American spirits on the ground, only missing 2. A week later in San Francisco, CA, I bought a pack of American spirits, and after smoking 2, I put the pack in the inside pocket of my jacket. Next time I went to smoke, the pack was gone. No one ever believes me when I tell them this. I was in high school and took a right out of my math class. I walked for quite some time when, absent-mindedly looking around, noticed I had just passed the classroom I thought I came out of some time ago. I drew it, so you could better picture it. I was driving home from my girlfriend's one night, going home the back way. Where I live is very flat, so the road I was on was dead straight with no bumps, small hills, or any places the road got higher or lower or anything like that. So I'm just driving straight, got my high beams on because there's no one around, and I can see everything in front of me. There's no houses on either side, no driveways, just fields. Nothing behind me either. Out of nowhere, a car appears about 20 feet in front of me, driving the opposite direction on the other side of the road. I was going pretty fast, so I pass them quickly, and when I look in my rear view, there's nothing there. Freaked me out so bad I had to pull over and gather my thoughts before I could keep going. Still freaks me out to remember it. Edit. Spelling. Edit 2. A ton of people have been saying that someone was just driving with their lights off and turned them on to freak me out, but this doesn't make sense because I would have seen them much sooner with my high beams on. Someone threw out the idea of microsleep, which I may have experienced and been woken up from by the other car's headlights. There's probably some logical explanation for it, but I like to think of it as my experience with glitches in the Matrix. I was eating popcorn in front of the TV and dropped a piece. When it should have hit the ground, I heard a faint pop noise. My mom was a stickler about messes, so I looked all over, under the couch, under the TV stand, everywhere, and couldn't find that popcorn. About a year later, I'm watching TV again, and I hear the same faint pop. I look down, and right between my feet is a freshly popped kernel of popcorn. I picked it up, and it was still warm. I'd been sitting there for at least an hour, and there was nobody else in the room. Quantum popcorn.